Greetings, earthlings, wisdom keepers, wisdom seekers. Welcome back to Wisdom Dropz, your source for daily drops of wisdom and savvy astrology. Tanya Lasagna back again, layering together all the celestial sauce and nodal noodles into something digestible. And today we are discussing the Gemini full moon, which just perfected on the 8th of December, 2022. The chart is before you. Before I jump on into it, make sure you like this video if you have not already. Subscribe if you're new to this channel. Of course, hit the bell notification so that you get the upload notification whenever I do post a new video. And last but not least, you can get a reading from me if you go to wisdomdropsastrology.com. The address for that is down below, and wisdom and drops are with a Z, so it's easy to remember. With that said, let's jump on into it. You have in front of you a full moon in Gemini, everybody, and this is intense. Why is it intense? Because Mars, the red thing with the arrow coming off of it, is exactly conjunct the moon during this lunation at 16 degrees of Gemini. So what is up with that? Well, what is up with that? Mars is the planet of action, willpower, drive, the force of anything, anyone, anybody's will. It is willpower. So it's like the action that you take to do anything. If you want to get up and get some ice cream, you got to get up to get the ice cream. And that is Mars in the name of Venus, ice cream, right? Pleasure. With that said, Mars is also a warrior type energy. So it is the very notion of fire, the notion of being pissed off, having motivation, because you're almost, you're motivated for a cause, right? Whether that's to spite somebody, to build your own name, whatever that case may be, whatever it is that motivates you, that is in fact Mars energy. So Mars is conjunct the moon, right? Well, what is the moon? The moon is emotion and our bodies. And during a full moon, it's a heightened awareness of emotion in our bodies and our own mental state even. So you have the moon here opposing the sun, fully illuminated by the sun's light, hence the full moon. And Mars with the moon is going to add that fiery flavor to our emotions. So if you've been feeling pissed off or easily irked, maybe friends have been pissing you off, maybe your local community has been upsetting you, or on the flip side, in a more maybe positive vibration, which sometimes is positive to be pissed too, so I don't want to like shame that. But, on the flip side, it could be you're motivated by friends, you're motivated by your local community, you're inspired and supported in a very action-driven way by your local community, by your local friends, right? Because Gemini is those things, community locally and friendships, as well as like people around your same age range, okay? So with that said, you have like a motivation on offer right now. You have a potential to get more upset by people around you right now, your friends. So those are really the two very basic ways that this could manifest. The sun, of course, is in Sagittarius, so we do obviously pay some attention to that. The sun is always like the storyline, whereas the moon is always like what's going on at like a more like physical level, or sometimes it's like what's immediately around you as that storyline is unfolding. So it is the material world after all. So be careful of accidents, be careful, because Mars is like, the person who's always in such a hurry to get something done and they want to do it because they're motivated, and then oops, they hit their head and now they're gushing blood because they were in such a hurry with hyper focus to do one thing, they forgot to pay attention to the rest of it, right? So just be careful of that. Be careful of local accidents and stuff, driving especially, because that could be somewhat problematic, I would say, given that you have Gemini, which is the sign of local travel, and Mars could be accidents. So do be careful of that. Another thing you could be careful of is getting sick from friends, because Mars is like inflammatory things. Gemini rules the hands and also the lungs, if I'm not mistaken. So just be aware of like, any kind of like inflammatory things that could be shared amongst friends or local people around you. With Sagittarius sun, of course, it's in the name of fun and travel and like new experiences, which brings us to Jupiter. And I will discuss Mercury before the end of this because Mercury is playing a critical role since Mercury is the planetary ruler of the sign Gemini, right? But Jupiter is the sign ruler of Sagittarius, and Jupiter is the aqua 4 looking thing on the right side of your screen at 29 degrees of Pisces at this lunation. And what's super interesting about that is that it's about to go into Aries after retrograde back into Pisces. And so this is its true kind of like forward momentum now going through Aries. It's not going to have a lot of time to just sit around and go back into Pisces anymore. It's like, hey, I'm going to go into Aries, y'all, and I'm going full force. And so Jupiter is, in fact, in 2 weeks' time, going to be in the sign of Aries. And this is a big deal because this is how we're going to close out the year. So Jupiter is, joy. It is the concept of good luck. And it is the more, let's say, neutral concept of inflation or expansion. And it can expand bad things just as much as good things. It's more of like a magnifying glass sort of energy. But it is the ruler of Sag, and it is about to change signs during this lunation. So it's a little bit kind of like, ooh, pay attention to that. So Jupiter entering Aries is going to involve a lot of youth, a lot of like independent type energy, because Aries is a very independent, kind of like, warrior energy. And Aries is in fact ruled by Mars, right, as its planetary ruler. But Jupiter is going to like launch you into, I would say, some more independently motivated kind of energy. It has been in its own sign of Pisces, which is all great and dandy and awesome because that's where it's quote unquote best at. But Jupiter in Aries has its own benefits. You could feel younger. You could feel more motivated, like I say. You could feel more energized. Maybe you're more in a kind of like get up and go and get it done. Like, hey, I'm an entrepreneur. Let me get on my hustle finally kind of energy. So there's many different benefits on offer there. But Jupiter is also one's philosophy. So you might find that in the coming months, you're a little bit more selfish. Sagittarius is definitely known to be a bit more of a selfish energy. Granted, they're fun and everything, but it's not necessarily the most like, other oriented kind of sign. Sagittarius is kind of like there for the party and then they're out. So just be aware of that. Generally speaking, that this is going to be, it's kind of like a changing of the seasons, even though the sun isn't quite entered into Capricorn yet. I view this almost as like a really strong indicator of like, yeah, it's changing seasons out here in the astrological weather because of Jupiter alone. It's like its own, it's like it's starting off the process of the season really being like firmly winter. Okay. So let's get to Mercury now. Mercury is freshly entered into Capricorn at this time, which of course is interesting because Mercury is the planetary ruler of Gemini. And that means that reading Mercury will tell us more about the moon itself during this time. We talked about the strong signature of the moon conjunct Mars at the top of your screen. But what does it mean when Mercury is freshly in the sign of Capricorn? It means that all things Gemini or all things full moon on our awareness right now are going to be informed by this Capricorn sort of stoicism. And when I say that, what I mean is seriousness. Capricorn is a serious sign, and Capricorn is another sign that in its worst sense could be very callous and very selfish and very emotionless and very abusive and cruel in that regard because it's ruled by Saturn. But in a better sense, when you have that Mercury entering Capricorn, it's asking you and helping you, in fact, get more serious about your business and like long-term investments. Maybe it's about buying property or a home or something that you're going to commit to for a long period of time, because Saturn is long periods of time. Saturn is not about short, minuscule, trivial little accomplishments. It's not about, oh, I got across the road, or, oh, I went down the sidewalk 20 yards. No, Capricorn is like, I took a journey across the entire state or the entire country in order to get some business done that really needed to be legitimized and formally documented. And I did it myself because I couldn't trust anybody else, because it's Capricorn. Sometimes they do that, which is fair enough. But with that said, Capricorn, any which way it'll manifest for you, it is more serious and it is all about business. So if it's family business, like setting up somebody's legacy or inheritance, or your own personal business, like committing to a 30-year mortgage or something like that, who knows? You do, theoretically. But the idea being is that Mercury is going to be informing this full moon, and it's saying, hey, the ideas that you're having right now, they're more serious. They're about long-term things. They could also be about severance. You might be like, hey, I'm getting serious about this idea that I need to sever some stuff, and I'm going to just do that. I'm going to let go of that relationship, or I'm going to let go of whatever it is I need to let go of, because, Mercury's in Capricorn. So it's about, what am I going to get rid of and what is no longer worth it? And that, of course, makes me want to look at Saturn real quick, which is currently at 20 degrees of Aquarius, and interestingly enough, in a ongoing square with Uranus, which is all about severance and liberation and surprise. But it's in a trine, which is more probably appropriately indicated with emphasis here with Mars and the moon conjunction that we talked about at the very beginning. So that means that this idea that I'm talking about seriousness and commitment and contracts and all the Capricornisms, that is likely going to be supported during this, full moon experience, because Saturn, the ruling planet of Capricorn, where Mercury, which is the ruling planet of Gemini, where Saturn currently is, it is informing this experience, and it's in a harmonious aspect to that full moon and Mars conjunction. So I would say that even if you do get into an accident, you might have some long-term benefit that comes out of it, as messed up as that is. Don't try to get in an accident, of course, but Saturn is kind of like the test of time. So it's showing us here through this positive aspect that there's likely going to be a more harmonious outcome to whatever it is you do choose to move forward with at this time. But at the most basic rudimentary astrology level, it's a full moon in Gemini. Be sure you think things through. Mars is going to make you want to hurry. It's going to make you very impulsive. It's going to make you very on your toes and spur of the moment, and just really quick with things. And that can be better in some instances, but it could also be a lot worse, because it can make you more impulsive and then regret your decision later. So I would say that the idea of slowing down Saturn and trine to this moon and thinking about these impulses before you really do them, thinking about the consequences that are there, that in and of itself is really gonna serve you and benefit you. So with that said, this has been your report. You can book a reading with me, Tanya Lasagna, at wisdomdropsastrology.com, the link for which is down below. Make sure you like this video. If you haven't already, do subscribe to this channel on the YouTube. And with that said, through next time, until next time, may the stars be with you. Peace.